Whoopsies. Now, if you watch Beavis and Butthead on the Vanguard YouTube channel, which the Majority Report hilariously treats as some authoritative source.
What's going on, you guys? Today we have Anna Kasparian responding to Emma Vigeland and Sam Seder. The Majority Report has been calling out Anna Kasparian's lies. She's tired of it. Let's get into it.
Last week, Emma Vigeland and Sam Seder of the Majority Report thought it would be fun to put out a more than 18-minute long video chastising and mocking me for my willingness to admit that I was wrong, in part for downplaying the possibility of Donald Trump implementing Project 2025 upon winning the election.
People have admitted that they made a mistake.
All right, back on TYT, checking Anna with you guys. More news.
So I just want to address something. I was wrong about Project 2025. Maga hates Project 2025, and I thought that Donald Trump actually cared about his base because in his first term, he seemed to be swayed by his base. He seemed to listen to his base.
Wait a second, wait. MAGA hates Project 2025?
Where's the evidence of that?
What? What is this MAGA that they speak of?
You know what? Sam is totally right. It is he who understands the MAGA base better than anyone else. I mean, the guy goes out of his way to engage in dialogue with Trump voters. He seeks to understand where their hearts and minds are at. Here he is touting his openness to understanding people who vote differently than he does.
We can't take the power back without talking to Trump voters and making them realize their mistake. Well, wait.
So let's pander to them first.
Pick your battles doesn't have anything to do with talking to Trump voters. Yeah. Or not.
Or flattering false
You've just decided to make some weird connection there. Yeah. We can't take the power back without talking to Trump voters and making them realize their mistake. Actually, no, we can't. There's millions and millions of other people who need to be motivated to get into the fight.
Is that I am coming from the Poly Market Studios?
Insulting them and lumping them all together as the worst among them doesn't help either. I don't know when we have done that with all 78 million people, but I got news for you. The percentage of those who voted for Mitt Romney, they can suck my. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about any of that.
Astute analysis, there you have it.
So here we have Sam Seder going over Anna Kasparian's head. She doesn't realize that MAGA, it's just full of contradictions. It has become a full-on cult at this point. And no, you can't really talk anyone out of it at all. There's nothing that you can do. Like literally, they are die hard for this movement, for this person.
Sam Seder, noted expert on Trump voters who he won't talk to and has no interest in understanding. Got it. But it's worth asking why Trump would repeatedly deny supporting Project 2025 on the campaign trail. Was it to appeal to libs like Sam Seder? Or maybe it's because he knew his base doesn't support large swaths of the policy agenda laid out in the project's 900-page document. So to say that Trump is implementing Project 2025 isn't even fully accurate because, well, there's a lot that he doesn't agree with that's in that document and said that he won't actually pursue. After getting elected, he said these things. For example, Project 2025 wants to eliminate every single tax bracket and replace it with just 2 brackets, 15% for anyone making under $168,000 annually and 30% for those earning more than that. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, it's because Trump hasn't mentioned it and isn't likely to pursue it. And are we gonna pretend like Trump read a 900-page document? Really? He does, however, plan to extend his 2017 tax cuts for individual filers. Trump also wants to lower the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%, which I've spoken out against repeatedly. Project 2025 also proposes cuts to Medicaid. What does Trump have to say about that?
Social Security won't be touched, other than this fraud or something we're going to find it's going to be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
You don't have to. Now, if there are illegal migrants in the system, we're going to get them out of the system and all of that fraud, but it's not going to be touched.
I mean, well, look, touching Medicare or Medicaid, super unpopular. And maybe Trump is just saying that publicly while behind closed doors, he's telling Republicans.
And at this point, Anna Kasparian she's spewing propaganda. Last Friday, the Republican administration, they announced that they're going to shrink the Affordable Care Act, the Navigator program. They're going to shrink that annual budget. The Navigator program helps people enroll into Medicaid and ACA coverage, and they're going to shrink that completely. So it's not, he might be showing a good face to people saying, hey, look, you guys, I'm not going to touch the funds or anything like that. But the hoops that you guys have to get through, in Arkansas, 18,000 people lost their Medicaid coverage last time he was in office, right? The hoops that are going through, it's the same thing. Oh, the funds are going to stay the same, but, well, and then if people can't jump through these hoops, oh, well, then people aren't even using it. Oh, we can get rid of a little bit off the top. Who's going to know?
Republicans who are currently working on a budget that they should totally slash Medicaid, right? Well, it turns out, no, wrong. That's not what's happening. Trump had previously weighed in privately against cutting too heavily into Medicaid, telling House Republicans at a closed-door meeting earlier this month that he wants to be very careful with Medicaid. His public remarks on Hannity represented a broader and more forceful assertion of that red line. Nonetheless, Trump's agenda and Project 2025 do have a great deal of overlap, especially in regard to the dismantling of the administrative state, which his base actually does like. But how could anyone be in favor of scaling back on government agencies that are full to the brim with unelected career bureaucrats who get to create, judge, and enforce their own policies and rules? How could this be?
A scathing review of the CDC, finding the agency repeatedly botched its pandemic response and failed to meet the moment of crisis. The CDC long under fire for its guidance on masking and vaccines over the last 2 years.
It's just really confusing.
There are more than 10,000 chemicals and additives allowed in food in the U.S., often in small amounts, but many have not been evaluated by the FDA in decades. The majority are safe, but some chemicals allowed here have been banned overseas after research has linked them to cancer and developmental or behavioral issues.
Is the food industry basically policing itself?
I would say yes. 45% of the FDA's overall budget now comes from the companies it's reviewing, and 65% of the FDA's budget specifically for human drug regulation comes directly from Big Pharma itself.
The historic $2 billion payout by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to black farmers and other farmers of color who experience discrimination when applying to the USDA's farm loan programs.
The lender, who was a federal employee.
And I'm not sure where Anna's going with this point, where she's showing all these different clips to get you riled up and spin it a certain way. But let this not take away from what's actually happening. Trump is taking out all of these people from the office. He's laying off. It's not just from the FDA. He laid off 7,000 workers at IRS yesterday. And this is, Doge is about to go into the IRS, but also Doge, Elon Musk is wanting to start up something called X Money, where it's like a Venmo thing on Twitter, and or Twitter, formerly Twitter, known as X. And now he's going to get access to everyone's personal data, to what how much money you made last year, what properties you own, and it'll be just a perfect thing to, hey, well, we can put this into Twitter, we can put this into X, and it'll just run perfectly fine. And nobody, nobody's calling it out.
Employee who was employed by a government spat on me. I was called the N-word from this same official.
So I do a lot of work surrounding environmental justice issues here locally as far as activism goes. And I've done research fellow at the local EPA. The admin at the time when I was a research fellow were primarily comprised of people who were affiliated or directly coming from the Department of Defense. And they put in a lot of restrictions as to what the researchers get to, which PFAS compound the researchers get to study.
Right.
Is the EPA turning a blind eye to these dangerous forever chemicals, and why?
Unfortunately, the EPA is not turning off the tap of these chemicals from the polluters who knew they were poisoning their workers in the 60s and their neighbors in the 70s, and ultimately all of us. And they're continuing to allow these polluters to send their PFAS wastes not only into our rivers, but to our wastewater treatment plants, where then they are then sold to farmers who unknowingly contaminate their fields.
Whoopsies. Now, if you watch Beavis and Butthead on the Vanguard YouTube channel, which the majority report hilariously treats as some authoritative source, you'd think that TYT is totally in favor of the Trump administration gutting federal agencies.
And the thing is that nobody's saying that like in a serious way. They may be poking fun at the fact that you consistently say, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's not that, what's he actually doing that's that bad? And whenever it's an actual dictatorship that's going to come over, he's getting rid. I mean, the checks and balances system has been going forever, but now this is just like the last little battle cry of like, hell yeah, we're sticking it to the system. No one can check me, no one can balance me. And you guys, the Young Turks and the Kasparian Cenk Uygur are saying, hey, well, he's not even really doing that bad stuff. Maybe we could put him in for another like 10 years. Like, hey, can we reelect this guy for a third term? That's what everybody's getting at you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's another day in the progressive way.